Hey friends, Lindsay Nadler here. Happy Monday. I wanted to hop on here today and talk with you guys about something that I see so many women struggle with. So if you're hopping on or you're catching the replay and you're in business, or whether that's in person or online, or maybe you run a direct sales business, you're in a network marketing company, you could even apply this to if you're at work and you're working hard on a presentation or a job or something that's coming up. I want to talk with you about one of the biggest mistakes that you could make. I've made this mistake. I don't know a woman who hasn't made this mistake. And if we don't learn how to shift our thoughts, if we don't learn how to shift what we believe about this issue, then we set ourselves up to live a life that's constantly never enough, where we're constantly striving and we're not centered, we're not aligned with who God says that we are, and we're striving. And I just believe, hello, all of you that are hopping on, I just believe that we are called to live a life that's fully alive, but also a life that is at rest. And I know that for so many female entrepreneurs, whether you've got a side hustle, a full-time hustle, you work really, really hard, I see this mistake happening a lot. And I promise that if we can learn how to shift this, then so much is going to change in your business. I have struggled with this. I'm going to share a little bit about my journey in this area and some things that helped me break free from it. But the concept is this. So the biggest mistake that we all make, that anybody could make, but especially women could make as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, doesn't matter if you have that side hustle, direct sales business, whatever, and it is this. We get into trouble when we begin to attach our worth to our performance, results, or income. So how many of you are struggling with your confidence, you're struggling with your self-esteem, you're struggling getting more clients, getting more sales, you're struggling with leading your team, you're struggling with all of these things because we don't realize that we've put our worth and we've put our identity attached to a number. And whatever the number is for you, I want to caution you and I want to remind you that your worth, your confidence, your ability as a woman who is full of power, as a woman who has so many gifts and calls and just incredible abilities on your life, I want to encourage you that if you're placing your worth in a number, whether that's income, how many people, or a certain title or a level within your company, you are going to fall short every time and there will be no rest. Our identity has to come from this alone. I am who God says I am, and that's enough. My worth, my confidence, the success of my business isn't determined by a number. It's determined by how many lives I am impacting. It's determined by, thanks Brahman, it's determined by how many people that I am serving. Because when we attach our worth to anything other than who God says we are, we will never feel enough. Because why would I attach my worth? Why would I attach my confidence? Why would I attach my ability to keep showing up and making an impact and doing what I know has been put on my life to do? Why would I base that on any circumstance? And we don't even realize that we're doing it. So many times it's like an unconscious thought process that we're doing, and we're constantly focused on the problem. We're constantly focused on the number, the results, the circumstance, the amount of people. And here's the fact. As a life coach, as a life and business coach, this is one of the biggest things that I help women do, is I want you to understand that your thoughts are driving your actions and your results. Let me say that again. Your thoughts are driving your actions and your results. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create action, action creates results. And if your thought process, what happens is we're met with a result, we're met with a circumstance, and it's not meeting our expectation, or it's not what everyone else is doing, or it's not what we've deemed successful in a certain amount of time, then we react to that circumstance with a thought. The thought typically, if we boil it down to like its basic thing, the thought typically is, I'm not enough. The thought typically is, if I was better, there's something wrong with me. As women, and this is actually, guys, what's so crazy is that there has been so many research-based, scientific-led studies. A great book that you can check out for this is called The Confidence Code. I can't remember the authors, but it's called The Confidence Code. And it's these two researchers that basically studied women in business, in the workplace, in politics, and we're looking in women athletics, and they were looking for the confidence code, the confidence piece of the puzzle. And it was so interesting that in their research, they found that women typically personalize failure over and over and over again. And when we personalize failure instead of learning from it, then we put ourselves in a place of inaction, because we've attached who we are as people, we've attached our self-esteem, our self-worth, our confidence to an outcome. And so if we fail in that outcome, then we're doomed. To boil all that down, that is the definition of a performance mentality, which means that my worth is attached to how well I perform, to how successful I am, to anything other than I am who God says I am. And none of those things define me. They're great, they're awesome, they're gifts, they're results of action that I've taken in my life, and they're blessings, but we can't let those become our identity. Now, a lot of you may be saying, well, I know that my identity is found in who God says I am. I know that. But what are the actions and results in your life? Because we may say we know that, but do we really have a realization of it here in our hearts? Do we really believe what we're saying, what we're giving mental assent to? Because here's a way that you can check for that. What's your mood? What's your feeling? What's your consistent state of being when the results and the circumstances aren't lining up with what you thought your expectations were? So I want to encourage you today to not make the mistake of putting your worth and your identity, your confidence, your mood, your self-esteem in something that is circumstantial. Your worth and your identity does not have anything to do with a number. So that could be a number in a bank account. That could be a number of people on your team. That could be a number of sales. That could be a number of people that are in your new group or your new program that you just launched. Never put your identity and your worth, your confidence, your self-esteem in something that is circumstantial, or you will live in a performance mentality, and a performance mentality is exhausting, and it's not how you're meant to live. And it's interesting, as women, we're kind of conditioned to behave this way from an early age. I mean, and it's well-meaning. It's like this societal narrative that happens with young girls and young boys too, but I think specifically for young girls, it's like perform, be pleasing, be a good girl, be pleasing in every area. That is conditioned into women from a very early age. And typically young girls and women are taught that it is their goal in life, their purpose in life is to be pleasing, to please everyone else, to serve everyone else at the expense of their own needs. And of course, we want to serve, we want to do all of those things, but that's not where our identity comes from. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So yes, we're called to serve others, but my identity is not in how well I serve. Do you guys get what I'm putting down? And when it comes to running your business, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, whatever sphere you're in, I see so many women let their self-esteem be crumbled based upon a result. And it can trigger a lot of rejection wounds. It can trigger the I'm not enough. It can trigger a lot of things in our lives. So I want to encourage you today to take a hard look right now. What's your mood? What's your confidence level? What's your frustration level? What are the thoughts that you're thinking about your business? I'd love for you guys to let me know in the comments below, like if there's something that you're struggling with. Like if you're frustrated, that's a feeling. Why are you frustrated? What is it that you're thinking? So this is something that I teach over and over and over again. I've done lots of videos on this, is that if we want to have a renewed mind, a lot of people say that. They're like, oh, let God renew your mind. You just need some more Jesus. You need some Jesus and coffee. And that is true. We do need all those things. But do you understand the process of mind renewal? There's actually a process that's science-based. There's a process of renewing your mind. There's a process that happens in your brain called neuroplasticity when you begin to think truth, when you begin to think on things that are truth, when you begin to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, with thoughts that are life, okay? Because your thoughts are gonna create your feelings are gonna create your action are gonna create your results. So you can look at any of those things and backtrack it. I teach women all the time, if you wake up, a lot of women feel like they're victims to their emotions. They feel like they're victims to the way that they feel. They feel like, or they've been raised or conditioned through a lot of really religious, legalistic BS that your feelings are evil and that your feelings are bad, and that, it's kind of like because we need to be pleasing, right? We don't need to feel anything. We need to have the perfect answer. We need to have the Christianese scripture ready to go. We need to have all of that. So we can't really feel, we can't be honest about where we're at and where we're feeling. Understand that what's inside of you will always come out of you. And if you don't learn to get real with the feelings that you're feeling and process the pain that's behind it, process the emotion that's behind it, then we are going to be, number one, inauthentic, on your way to a nervous breakdown, and not entering into something that everybody needs to enter into, is rest in being an emotional adult. Emotional adulthood, emotional intelligence, emotional adulthood is being self-aware enough to go, I'm feeling this, what am I thinking? What am I believing? What am I believing to be true? And now you guys know I love affirmations. You guys know I love words. I'm a words girl. But I talked about this with my ladies in the Passionista community the other day. If you're not a part of that group, what are you waiting for? It's free. It's empowering. You need to come join. But you guys know I love all of the action, right? I love the words. I love the affirmations. I love all those things. But if you don't believe what you're saying, they don't work. If you don't change the thought process, if you don't actually believe, if you don't actually get into agreement with what it is that you're saying, you're not going to see a lot of change in your life. You have to get into agreement with truth, not up here and here, because so many of us know that it is so easy for us to say one thing and do another. Why is that? Because we don't really believe what we're saying. We have to believe what it is that we're saying. How do we believe it? We've got to accept things as truth. We have to align ourselves with truth. So for all of you that are in business, or maybe you're in a ministry, maybe you're running a nonprofit, whatever the thing is that is your passion, the thing is that sets your soul on fire, the thing is that gets you up out of bed in the morning, or maybe it's this dream that you know is going to come to fruition one day. I don't know what it is for you, but the biggest mistake that you could ever possibly make is putting your identity in the success or failure or results of any of those things. Your identity is not attached to outcome. How good your success, You're not your failure. You're not how many people are on your team or on your list or in your group or on your social media. You are not defined by a number in a bank account. And it's so interesting how we love to say, oh, I know all that. But what do you really believe? What are the actions? What are the results that are showing up in your life that may be attached to, or the inaction? Let's go there for a minute. Or the inaction of some things in your life because you've believed that your identity and your worth and who you are is attached to that. So maybe you've had a failure in your life. And because you believe that you're a failure instead of an imperfect person who makes mistakes and is figuring life out, it's caused you to stay hidden. It's caused you to not take action, to not go live, to not email your people, to not tell people what it is that you do, because you view yourself and you're defining yourself based on past failures. So you've got to look at who does God say that I am? Who am I believing that I am? Where does my worth come from? Where is this confidence coming from? Am I letting it be circumstantial, or am I letting it to be totally perfect? And the only thing that is perfect is God. So for me, my story is one of a total recovering performance mentality, workaholic, perfectionist. If you guys don't know much about my story, I talk a lot about it in different places. Probably the best place to find it is on the podcast. And I'm going to do an episode like all about like my entrepreneurial journey. I'm going to talk about my spiritual journey. I'm going to do more like podcast episodes on my story. But for me, I grew up number one in an entrepreneurial household. I'm so blessed and so thankful for that gift. But I also grew up believing that how I got attention or my worth was based in how well I performed. So if you wanted to escape certain things in our house or to get positive attention, you proved your worth. So you got up, you cleaned, you did this, you did that. Like there's no sitting around. You worked, you did this. And for me, this was validated for me within athletics. So I got attention, I got my worth from how well I did in athletics, because that's what was important in my home. And I learned so much from all this. I'm so grateful for all of that. I'm thankful for my athletic career because honestly, it kept me out of jail. It kept me out of a ditch. It kept me probably from being addicted to drugs, because that was like basically the only thing that I liked about my life was playing softball, was playing sports. But I learned like, okay, my like everything based on how well I did on the field, how well I did hitting, how well everything was based on that. And that's not sustainable. I mean, it's like when I look back on my life, because I didn't know that my identity, that I was unconditionally loved, regardless of what I did or how well I did it. And for some of you, that is a game changer for you today. Because again, guys, we think that we know this. We say we know it up here, like we give the good girl Christianese responses. We're really good at quoting scripture and telling everybody else what they ought to do with their lives. But what do you really believe in your heart? What do you really believe? Do you really believe you're loved unconditionally? Do you really believe that your worth is not based on how good of a wife you are, or a mom, or a business owner, or anything that is circumstantial? You have to get that. If you really want to be a confident person, you've got to get that like in the core of your being. You've got to get that in your bones. That's one of the reasons why I created my course called Inconfident. So if you're struggling with that, or if you're struggling with perfectionism and fear and letting other things define you, I want you to go get inside that course. It's going to change the game for you. It's going to change your life. So go check that out. But you may be wondering, okay, but like, what does that have to do with my business? What does that have to do with being an entrepreneur? It has everything to do with you being an entrepreneur. Here's why. Because if you don't understand that you're loved unconditionally, and you don't understand that your worth doesn't come from anything else, what happens is you won't present yourself confidently, okay? And you'll become needy, and you'll become desperate, or you'll become flighty or inconsistent. There's always an action that you're either taking or not taking as a result of not believing that you're loved, not believing where your identity comes from. So if that's making sense to you guys, let me know in the comments if you're picking up what I'm putting down. If you're watching the replay, let me know as well so I can check in on you. But I want you to look at whatever your business is, and let's look at right now, what's the problem, okay? Is the problem that you need more sales, that you need more jobs, that you need more donations, that you need, that you're struggling with your team, developing leaders, you're struggling with leadership yourself? What is it that you're struggling with? Okay, and let's backtrack it. What are the thoughts that you're believing? Because our thoughts create our feelings. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I don't think I actually finished my thought, was so many women feel like they're victims to their emotions, or, you know, you're just like a constant emotional roller coaster, and you feel like you're so sick of everything being dictated by that. I mean, I know that I've been there. I mean, like, just being real, like, all of us, like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like a hot mess express. Like, this is like crazy town. Like, I don't feel like myself. I just want to feel better. Well, what are you doing with those feelings? What are you allowing yourself to believe to be true? Okay, is the point. So, okay, guys, if you loved this content, please let me know. Share it with a friend. I want to encourage you today to look at your struggle in your business. Look at what you think the problem is. And I would encourage you that it probably has something to do that you are gleaning your worth and your self-esteem from a certain result that you've deemed important. None of those things define you. And if you want to change that, if you want to change how you feel, we need to look at what you believe to be true. What are the thoughts that you're thinking, and what do you really believe about them? Okay? That's how we enter emotional adulthood and emotional maturity. And if you want to be successful in business, you cannot have a performance mentality. That's the whole basis of this live today, is that if you want to be successful in business, in life, in marriage, in anything, you cannot have a performance mentality. And unfortunately, we live in a world that rewards that, and we get addicted to it. So we're just constantly looking for our next fix. We're looking for our next validation of love. We're looking for our next validation of that we can do it. We're constantly looking for, the likes, the follows, the client, the things, the things that we think are going to make us feel good, that are going to make us feel like we belong to be here. None of those things can do that for you, my friend. The only thing that can do that for you is you. You have to believe in yourself and stop feeling guilty for that, okay? Tangent right now, side note. Why is it that so many women, especially Christian women, have such an issue with believing in themselves? I think it's probably because we've been conditioned to believe, well, die to self and pick up your cross, and like we start spouting out all these Christianese things. All of those things are great, whatever, okay? They're true, okay? But for me, you need to understand that belief and salvation are two totally different things, okay? Believing in myself has nothing to do with me thinking I can save myself or sanctify myself, okay? Some of you need to break free from that crap, okay? It's okay for you to say, guess what? I believe in myself. I don't need your permission. I don't need to justify it to you. I don't have anything to prove. I believe in myself. For so much of your business struggles, that's what it's coming down to. You don't believe in yourself, and you don't believe in what you have to offer. That's probably mistake number 2, is if you want to grow, you need to ask yourself, what do you really believe? It all comes down to that. Do you really believe in yourself? Do you really believe in what you have to offer? Do you really believe in your product? Because your Action is going to be driven from what you believe. That's right, Paula. God doesn't make junk. And guess what? God has given me gifts. He's given me tools, and he expects me to use them. And God has put his spirit inside of me. So yeah, I feel like I can do it. Okay? Why do we constantly demand that people use, it's like we constantly demand that people use our little Christianese tagline phrases to everything. It's like, I don't have to constantly go around saying I believe in myself, but just want to make sure all of y'all know, I don't mean in my own strength, and I don't mean this, and I don't mean that. It's like, no, listen, my identity is established. I am a child of God. That means a lot of things. Just a few are that I'm a new creation, and I have the spirit of the living God inside of me. And because of that, I can do all things through him. So yeah, I feel like I can figure it out, because it's really not up to me at the end of the day. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I believe in myself. I'm a child of God. Come on. We've got to stop. We've got to stop all of this self-righteous, self-deprecating, false humility stuff. It's okay for you to believe in yourself. It's okay for you to believe in what you're doing. It's okay to chase the God-given dreams that have been put in your heart, and you don't need anybody's permission to do that. You don't need a title in order to do that. You don't need someone else to validate you or confirm it for you 1,000,000 times. That's right, Paula. When we put ourselves down, we're not honoring our Creator. Exactly. Live for an audience of one. Exactly, Danielle. So, okay, you guys know I can get in there and kind of go on a tangent a little bit. I get fired up. It's like, happy Monday. Lindsay's got a message for you. But I just see so many women struggling in this area, and it breaks my heart, because I know that I've been put here as a life coach, as a business coach, to help women make their passion a reality, to go after it, to go for it, to go after their calling, and to be confident in who God has made them to be, and to discover who God has really called them to be, because you were put on this planet to change it. Now, again, we're not going to get into a performance mentality with that. We're going to live at rest as the most confident, firmly rooted in who we are, women that we're called to be. And a lot of you guys are called to influence and to make so much impact through business, through ministry, through whatever, but you're believing a lie that says you need to be hidden, and that you don't need to talk about what you do, and that who you are and the success of your business, your ministry, whatever, is determined by a certain result. Here's something that'll help you with this. This is a little thought that I like to tell myself, a phrase that I like to tell myself, and it's, everything I'm doing now is getting me to where I'm going to be later. So for a lot of you, there's what I'm saying. For a lot of you, you may be looking at a number and going, okay, but Lindsay, this is kind of sucking. Okay. I've been there. I get it. One thing that has changed the game for me is understanding momentum, and understanding that truly everything you are doing or not doing is paying you or not paying you tomorrow. It compounds, just like money compounds, a compound interest in the bank. The same thing happens with energy. The same thing happens with action. And so everything that you are doing is leading you on a journey and leading you on a process that's going to get you where it's going to pay you so much more down the road. Even though you may not be seeing it right now, it's propelling you to where you need to go. That's right, Paula. So Paula said, guys, some women make the excuses to hide a deeper fear. That's right. Honestly, it all comes down to fear or love. And we've got to be honest with ourselves about which kingdom we're empowering and which one we're listening to. Okay, so Danielle said, honestly, for me, it was that I was not giving myself permission to be happy or successful. That's right. So now, as a part of my daily affirmation, in addition to your mantra, oh, awesome, I now give myself permission to be happy, successful, loved, and live the life of my dreams. I actually had to give myself permission. So crazy. Danielle, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. So the very first thing that I do inside of my course called Inconfident is have every woman, some of you guys need to do this today, okay? I actually have every woman write themselves out a permission slip and print it out, and I encourage them to like put it somewhere. Like, give yourself permission to succeed. Give yourself permission to live the life of your dreams. So Danielle, if I can ask you a question, so this is important to know, is why were you not giving yourself permission? Why were you not giving yourself permission to be happy or successful? It's interesting sometimes when we're not giving ourselves permission is because we don't feel like we're worth it, or we're afraid that it'll be taken from us because we have a scarcity mentality. Like, it really is all about like fear or love. Which one are you going to choose to partner with? Which one are you going to choose to believe? So, some of you need to give yourself permission. Yeah, so probably Danielle, like the trauma from your past and pain and stuff, I get that for sure. For some of you, you do need to give yourself permission. You need to give yourself permission to do a lot of things. Let's talk about give yourself permission to make money because you trust yourself with it and you know it's not evil, it's a tool. Let's talk about give yourself permission to talk about what you do without feeling like you're bragging or you're being arrogant or it's all about me or whatever BS lie you've told yourself, okay? That you need to be humble, so that means you never talk about what you do. There are so many people that need what you have. That's another just like thing you could write out and say to yourself is people need what I have. People want what I have. People are waiting for me to show up and tell them what I do so that they can work with me. Because I believe in my product, my service, whatever it is that I have. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So I think it'd be good for you guys to give yourself permission to do those things, to chase your dreams without explaining them to anyone, without feeling like you're going to be like that you're selfish or that you have sinful desires or like any of that crap. If God put it in your heart, okay? If God put it in your heart, it's there for a reason. So go for it. Go do it. And here's the last thing that I'll say, I'll promise, is when you go for it, when you write yourself that permission slip, Paula, when you continue to grow, Danielle, like all of you that are in business, like you're chasing your dreams or ministry or whatever it is, when you go for it, here's what I want to encourage you to do. And you're probably gonna be like, what? I actually sent my email list this email about this topic this morning. I want to encourage you to fail. You're going to, okay? So be cool with it. Okay, so many people are afraid to fail because what? Their identity is caught up in their success or failure. And they can't handle that if I'm failing, then I'm not worthy. All right? But if you know that your identity is not caught up in your failure and that that failing is how you learn, it's actually how you develop confidence because you get good at what you do over and over again. You keep getting up, you keep showing up. Okay? Fail takes so much action that you fail a lot. Like you're not gonna die, okay? Like you're not, the world won't be over. Like who cares if you press live on a Facebook video and you look silly and don't know what to do, okay? Yeah, permission to fail. Who cares if you talk to somebody about your product or your service and they tell you, no, that's not for me right now. Okay, cool. Because my identity is not wrapped up in you saying yes to me, I'd like, all right, cool, take it or leave it. You're not for me right now. You guys understand the freedom and confidence that comes from that? Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to fail over and over again. Like if you look at a little baby, if you look at a toddler who's learning how to walk, like they fall down a ton, they face plant, they wipe out. Like they don't quit, or they don't say, oh, I must not be a worthy human being because I failed down a lot. No, they're trying to walk. They're trying to learn how to walk. And for so many of you, that's where you're at in your business. You're trying to learn how to walk. You're trying to learn how to swim. Trying to learn how to do this thing, and you need to take massive action and fail repeatedly, fail over and over and over again. Number one, so that you can understand the emotional process that you go through when you fail, and you can get really good at the thoughts you allow yourself to think and believe, so that you can take the action that you need to take. Okay, like you need to get like resilient in your failure so that it's not a big deal. Like it's not a big deal if I launch a course and no one buys it. The world isn't over. I'm learning from it. It's like, okay, well, what can I change? How do I need to grow? What do I need to tweak? You talk to 25 people about your product or your service. They all tell you no. That doesn't mean you should quit and the world is over. It's like, okay, what do I need to change? Is it my messaging? Is it my energy? Is it my, like, what is it? Okay, you need to be taking so much action that you fail a ton so that you have data, you have things to look at, you have things to grow. Back to my my softball analogy. You know, I talked to you guys about me being an athlete growing up and stuff. Do you guys know how I got a full paid college scholarship playing softball? I learned how to hit. Okay? How did I learn how to hit? Swinging a bat over and over and over again and learning. After tons of strikeouts, tons of pop-ups, I didn't sit on the bench and go, well, maybe I should quit softball. This isn't for me. I figured out how to hit a home run. I figured out how to hit a line drive. I figured out how to change my swing. I figured out how to use my hips. I figured out how to see the ball, really see it. And I learned how to hit home runs. That's why I got a scholarship. And it took tons of repetitions. It took tons of learning. It took tons of get back in the box, get back in the box, get back in the box, see the ball, see the ball, see the ball, watching myself on film, figuring it out. And do you know why I was willing to figure it out? Because I was passionate about softball. At the time, I was actually getting my identity from it. But it was like the only thing I loved in my life. It was the only thing I had going for me in my life. And so I was willing to figure it out, okay? Yeah. Forgiveness. Ooh, that's so good, Danielle. Forgiving yourself after failing. Danielle is saying right now that forgiving herself after failing is a task she's currently working on. Well, number one, I'm so proud of your self-awareness, Danielle. That is really mature. And I want to talk about that for a minute. And Paula, I want to talk about the family stuff too. Because I get it, okay? I really, really get it, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So Danielle is saying she's working on the self-forgiving stuff when she fails at a task, okay? And this is something that I'm so glad you brought that up, and this goes with failure. So when you fail, or when you know you're having a thought that is like not good or negative, or is causing that feeling, that's causing the action, that's causing your results, you need to stop beating yourself up for having it. So what so many of us do is we'll have a thought like, oh, I'm so fat, or oh, whatever. And then we're like, why am I thinking this? Like, then you start like condemning yourself for not having perfect thoughts. You start condemning yourself for how you're thinking. That's a waste of time. Instead of being critical and condemning and beating yourself up for why you're thinking negatively or for failing, get curious. I want you guys to switch from being frustrated at yourself to being curious of yourself. That's going to change your life. You're welcome. Okay? Instead of going from being frustrated, go to curious. So can you like look at yourself with compassion and love and going, that's interesting. And like kind of getting it neutral for a minute. Stop, get the emotion, get the emotional charge away from it and go, that's interesting. Why am I thinking that right now? Okay, You know, like almost like you're a scientist. It's like you're problem solving here. Okay, it's awareness. Or you can like ask God, who can go, where's that coming from? You got anything to say about that? That's when real freedom happens. Okay, so get curious instead of frustrated. When you fail, don't waste time in self-pity. Don't waste time in frustration and missing out and all the things that come. Just let's be curious. Let's view our action, ourselves with compassion, knowing like for me, another just phrase is going, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. Like you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And we're all on this journey of learning. So I'm like, okay, and I'm getting better and better every day. I did the best I could with what I have or what I knew at the moment, and it didn't work. So we can look at that with curiosity and giving yourself grace and compassion through your failures, okay? Yeah, be curious. Okay, so Paula was saying that family, let's get to the family part too. Family can be the worst derailing stuff. I get it. So many family members judging. Yeah, it's so interesting how when we get around family members who don't understand what we do, how we can get our feelings hurt, or we, again, that thing like where we need to be pleasing and we want people to get it and we don't understand unconsciously that we're actually wanting them to validate us. And it's also interesting when you get around your family how you sometimes can revert back to who you used to be. You know, they've seen you when you were not this self-evolved version that you are now, and they're used to the old way, the old you, and they don't like the new evolved you for whatever reason. Just the reality, a lot of times it's because you're growing past their comfort zone. That's a word for a lot of you guys. And you need to just begin, you have to let it go, and you have to go, you know what? I am not living my life for anybody else, and I love you and I honor you, but I am releasing you from the expectation to validate me, to get it, to understand any of that. Because not everybody is going to support you. Not everybody's going to understand what you're doing. They're not going to get it. And you need to be cool with that and let it go, okay? And it is sad because, you want your family to be the ones that are the most supportive of you. You want them to be the ones that like share your stuff with the world and tell people about your business and are supportive. And it's just an expectation that we need to release. Because when we put expectations on people in relationships, we really set ourselves up for failure. So it's kind of like, for me, my mentality has always been, I'm so passionate about this, I'm so fired up about this, that I don't need anybody to get it. It'd be nice. It's kind of like, oh, thanks. Like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. But like, I don't need you to get on board with me. I don't need you to whatever. I don't need you to do anything. You just be yourself. You have to learn to love people where they are at and for who they are, and let go of your expectations. Okay, so Paula said, I decided to show change, not brag change. So true. And that's such a great word too. It's like, don't talk. One of the best things that you can do is show people the fruit results of your life. And don't try to talk somebody into it. Don't try to convince. Like, I'm not in the business of convincing anybody about why they need to follow me. I'm not in the business of convincing anyone why they need to buy my course. For a lot of you, it's like, buy your product, join your team, whatever, get the job, okay, hire you. I'm not in the business of convincing anybody. I'm not in the business of convincing my family, convincing anyone to get it or come with me. I will, however, offer an invitation. The invitation is, I am adding value to your life. For me, I'm just sharing with you guys my business model, okay? My thought process, my stuff, okay? I hope you guys are liking this, because if you take it, it will make you a lot of money that you can go change the world with, okay? So my business mentality is, I'm not in the business of convincing you. I don't need to convince you, okay? I am, however, going to offer you an invitation. And there's a difference in your messaging. There's a difference in your energy. There's a difference in how you show up when you're inviting versus convincing. Okay? That's number one. Number two is I add so much value. Okay? And I believe in what I have to offer, and I believe in the results that I can get people so much that I'm not needy. So the invitation is I offer a ton of free value, ton of free content. For me, podcast, live video, my free Facebook group, there's my blog. There's so much free content for you in order for you to grow that it's like you should know based on my free content whether or not we're a good fit. So it's like, I've got this thing. Do you want to be a part of it? If not, cool. It's for somebody else, not for you right now. I'm not in a needy, convincing relationship. For so many of you, that shift right there is going to blow things up for you because it's a total different, it's total, how you communicate, everything is different. How you show up with people, your body language, all of the things are different when you switch from inviting instead of convincing, okay? One is from a place of scarcity and desperation, and one is from a place of abundance and service. So you can begin to ask, how can I serve? Like, instead of saying, I need to make, gosh, like this isn't happening fast enough, like striving and hustle, you're like, who can I serve? Whose life can I impact today? Who can I invite to come along? Who can I show these results to? Who can I show, how can I add value to their life? How can I show them that I'm here to add value? So we show instead of tell. All right, guys? And Paula, I think that's what you were talking about doing with your family, is you show instead of tell, and you invite people along. Yep. So, okay, ladies, we have talked about so much today. Oh my goodness. I started off with one thing and we're like just coming around to so much more. So I hope that this has influenced you and added value to your life. Definitely rewatch this one. There's so much good tips in this one. Last thing before I go, I wanted to remind you guys that we have so much good stuff on the podcast this month. Like the interviews with the women this month. I mean, all of the interviews have been incredible, but I just feel like it keeps getting better and better. So if you missed the one from last week, it was Alexandra Idens of Big Growth Journal. So like she literally birthed a business while she was birthing a baby, like went into labor. The next two ladies that I'm interviewing have amazing stories. Okay, Bo Stern of Sheology. She talks about how she birthed her ministry after the loss of her husband to ALS, and she was his primary caretaker. And so for all of you that feel like your life is over, or you're navigating a loss, whether that's death, a trauma, a divorce, and you feel like, what do I have to offer the world? And will I ever find who I am again or my passion again? You need to listen to that episode. And then the other interview that we've got this month is with Liz Court. And she is, thank you, Danielle. I'm so glad that you love the podcast. Love you, love the subscribers. And I always want to know what you guys want to hear. So definitely, I love feedback. But the other lady is Liz Court, and she helps fitness business owners create digital fitness empires. And she went from this like corporate CEO mom to starting her own fitness boot camp side hustle to now she runs $1 million fitness business online with multiple streams of income. And she's such a powerhouse, and the business wisdom that she gives on the podcast is like, holy crap. And she's from New York and she talks really fast. So, I mean, even on the podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish I had a slow-mo button right now because she's like so good. So much stuff. So if you're like in a season right now where you're like in side hustle life, you need to listen to that. So Paula, it's just the Passionista podcast. I'll put it in the link in the comments too. You just search Passionista podcast or Lindsay Nadler in iTunes and it's there. And we've got it on Stitcher and Google Play. And you can also go to my website, lindsaynadler.com/podcast. And they're all there as well with the show notes. So you guys make sure that you are listening to the podcast, and you guys know that reviews are life for it. That's how it continues to be seen. Oh, Paula, so cool. My family is from upstate New York. My husband's family, in-laws. So they're like Amsterdam, Schenectady, Watertown area. So it's neat. So you'll probably really identify with Liz's story on there. So anyway, so guys, reviews, subscribe and review the podcast. That would mean the world to me. And if you love the episodes, like screenshot it and share it in your Instagram stories or on social media. Thank you, Danielle, for posting that. And that would just help so much, because it is free for you guys, but it's not free for us. We put in a ton of effort and money and energy into producing this podcast, and that's our way of giving value to you. But reviews and sharing and subscribe it is just such a great way to give back to that and to impact other people's lives, because empowered women empower women, right? And that means we share stuff that we like with each other. That's really how business is meant to work as well. It's just sharing things that you love with the world. So you are going to see more business tips on here. You're going to see me talk more about that. You're going to see me talk more about some things I've got coming up for business coaching that I am like, what? Like, it's like so amazing, incredible. So pumped about that. And then again, guys, if you're struggling with confidence, okay, if you're struggling with, my identity is rooted in a lot of other things, or maybe you're so like just paralyzed by certain fears, and you don't want to be that way anymore, you need to get in Called and Confident. That course is about rediscovering who God created you to be, owning your power, crushing all of the fears that are holding you back, and living life confidently from rest, okay? From inside out, from like no hustle, striving, comparing, fix myself stuff, and into rest. Confidence is rest. True confidence is rest. Did you guys hear all of the things that we talked about today? All of those things were from a place of rest. It's like, I don't have anything to prove. Inviting instead of convincing. Letting go of other people's expectations, failing fast and forward, being curious about my failures, asking good questions, looking at my thought life and not beating myself up for how I'm thinking, and knowing that if I want to change my action, I need to change my feelings, my beliefs. What am I thinking? What am I believing to be true? Okay, just get curious about that, all right? Wrapping it up. Big idea, your identity doesn't come from anything other than who God says you are. And in business, it can get so easy for the results of that to affect who we are, or like we should quit because we're not enough, because a number isn't looking a certain way, all right? Let go of that today, all right? Let go. I want you to know that everything you're doing right now in your business is going to pay you in the future. Everything you're doing is adding up, okay? Is adding up to your future success. You may not see it right now, but if you don't quit, and if you can change how you think and what you say, and you can get curious about that, man, you're gonna see the reward, okay? All right, guys, remember, passion is everything. I love you all. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Thank you, Paula. Share it with a friend, and I will talk to you soon.